I'd like to introduce my Cuervo, and this topic will be the good, bad, and ugly while associating with international real estate firms.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, it's time for chismis. No? So no flashy numbers. This is all qualitative, right? So we've been through two international real estate groups. No? So when my father went to Hong Kong and met up with a number of them who wanted to come to the Philippines eagerly, they saw that the market was definitely changing. And so it was time to learn more about how the international property consultants tick and how they work. So he had a chance to meet with Colliers, Jones Lang Woolton at that time, Richard Ellis, and the like. So the Brits were the first movers there. And so he decided to go with Richard Ellis. This was, we were incorporated, Cuervo Far East, in 93. He signed an association agreement late 95. So when they came in, we thought that it was just a little, transfer of technology, learning how to do things. But caught us by surprise was suddenly we started getting expats coming into the company. The cost of running the business kept rising. Yes, the deals were coming, but at that time, the deals were here and not coming from abroad. So at that time, it was a boom time from 93. So we were selling, I was just fresh out of college, 93. So I was like, oh wow, this is great. Selling offices, selling land. It was all sales, not even leasing. It was all sales. What we've learned from them is maybe how to professionalize, put things together properly. Because prior to that, prior to having them, this is maybe the good part of my talk, is that we were just doing things like matching. How brokers and would do things. Oh, you have a requirement? I'll fit your requirement. That's how we do. We match things together, try our best to come up with our own system, and hope to close a deal. But with them, they brought something different to the table. It's consultative in nature, and I think that's what we had to learn. So that's the good part, right? How do you put things that make sense together? Information. Right? So, what is the market doing? How do you put things together? I think, Robert, you touched on that on what you've learned abroad and how, because each broker has their own style. But in our case, when we associated with Richard Ellis at that time, the developers were impressed. Now, I don't want to say that because he's a white voice walking into the office, but maybe that's one thing. But what we delivered in terms of information to the developers was something they hadn't seen before. It's like, seeing everything properly put together in templates, looking at, the buildings, all the information, all the data of land and this. So that was something we learned. We didn't even know that. Because back then, my father and my brother Ramon was just trying to do deals, networking with brokers and closing deals. But then these developers, and it was a boom time, a lot of development going on, these developers wanted more. They wanted to see you on a weekly basis. And they were paying for it. I mean, how many times have you been paid for advice? It's like, right? But at that time, they were paying monthly retainers for us to talk to them, just to give them what's going on in the market. Right? So that's the good. Now, when this thing turned around, right? So we had 2 years, 96, 97, of really making hay. We went up from 15 people to 90 people. And me being, closing deals, I was telling my dad, we need another office upstairs. Let's fit it out. Do this. Because the Brits were telling me to do so. And he told me, Mari, it's not always like that, there's a cycle. But I said, no, we have to strike while the iron is hot, I was young, trying to close more, and just following these foreigners telling us what to do. So, he said, it's all on you. Do what you think. So we leased out the whole office, another floor, figured it out, spent so much money, Asian financial crisis. Talk about timing. He looks at me like, I told you so. You know, sometimes we gotta listen to the gray hair, you know, we gotta listen to them, right? So he had it, and I just didn't listen. I was listening to the foreign partners. Lost everything. Everybody ran for the hills. And our company, being the local, had to deal with all the employees, all of their, you know, all the costs. How do you let them go? So it was the worst time and so much stress on my father, and I think that's when he started his cancer, really got in, because he passed in 2000. So, gave up the office, literally everyone started going to different companies, and I was there. We were back to 5 people in Cuervo, right? So it was the most depressing time from the financial crisis. So what did I do? I said, I gotta look for some other partner. Of course, my dad was already, fighting his cancer. I started looking for another partner, saying, okay, I've learned from this lesson, it's not gonna happen again. And so I noticed that the American companies were buying off the English firms in Hong Kong. So you got Jones Lang, and then CB, right, taking over Richard Ellis. And then I said, okay, might as well look for a partner from the US, which is Cushman and Wakefield. Wrote them a couple of times, and in 1998, 1999, they started testing me and saying, okay, can you do this for us, do this for us? And so I started performing, and so lo and behold, it started growing. Because you see, these international consultants, a lot of people wonder, why do we have to have them? The only reason is 2 things. One is the technology, we learn it, good. The second is, they have clients in their back pocket, right? So basically, they sign these multinationals globally and regionally. So you can't touch them. The likes of Nestle, IBM, all of these multinationals have a regional or global agreement with these big players. So with Cushman and Wakefield, I made sure when I associated with them, no expats are coming over that I have to house or pay ridiculous salaries, right? So we just focused on the business. We can do it. We can. Of course, with the experience I learned from Richard Ellis, I think this is something we developed. So 13 years we had a relationship. Very profitable. Because this time, it was going the opposite way. The deals were coming to the Philippines as opposed to going out. Because timing, right? The BPO industry, all of that. So, and they had these clients in their pocket. So I didn't have to do anything. I would just get an email, Mari, meet Mr. So-and-so of Nestle. Boom, door opens. Because you have no choice, Nestle, because you have to deal with us, because Cushman and Wakefield. IBM, same thing. And the list goes on and on with so many BPOs, right? So it was making good. The fee sharing arrangement was not bad. 30% goes to them of the deal, right? And the remaining stays put. And they don't dictate to us how we run our office. So it's very good. Again, these foreign entities always try to partner up and figure it out. Once they reach a certain gross revenue, that's when they pull the carpet under you. So that's what happened to us for a second time. You think I learned my lesson, right? So I'm like, okay, this is great. 5 years, 10 years, it's never gonna happen. Cuervo's gonna be there, we're gonna be fine. On the 13th year, I'm told, we're opening Cushman & Wakefield Manila. I was like, okay, so how does this work? We get into Cuervo, equity, we do this together, la la la. Long story short, he just said, we don't want any of your staff, which has grown already. We've grown back because of all the demand. He said, we just want you on a contract, an employment contract, but we don't want any of your staff. Of course, my dad already passed away, and I thought to myself, what do I do, right? This is ridiculous. Because they were offering me a good deal. Sometimes this is thing, carrot, right? You're gonna be treated like an expat, right? On a yearly contract. Hello, right? So I'm like, and first of all, the first thing that entered my head is the staff. What would my dad do, right, to these staff? I said, sorry, no deal. So that's it. They opened immediately, and they pinched some of my stuff. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, we just have to realize these guys are here to look for an opportunity, find the best way in, and when they don't need you, they're out. So how do you compete with these guys? It's very difficult if you're in the same sector that they're in. But Lee Chu has done a great job. Why? Because of the relationship. The relationship David has with the local developers goes far beyond what JLL can do. What JLL has is the global network of clientele, right? But when you have a good relationship with your clientele, nothing can be better. You have control. But the sad part is the big multinationals will still be run by the few multinational companies that are out there. So you have Colliers, Knight Frank, CBRE. So sometimes Lee Chu's associated with CBRE. It works. But I think he has more control. He's learned from the past, right? From JLL. So that's how the cookie crumbles. I mean, you have to be ready for these things. So I think professionally, you have to find a system, be consultative. Don't just provide the service of finding the unit or matching. That's all you do is match. Go a little bit more. Try to be more consultative to your clients, and they'll really appreciate that. Because that's why they'll come back to you. They'll keep coming back to you. And we're just lucky because in the evaluation company, we've been there almost 40 years now, we work with the international consultants. So they come to us to have their assets valued and so on and so forth. But no more tie-ups. I think we've learned the hard way twice. So what we do is everything is very loose. You can affiliate, we can be a preferred, but that's it. So we've had people call, people email me, Mari, can we do this together? Can we do that? These foreign guys. But I say, we can just on a case to case. So there's no more putting billboards of our names together and things like that, because I think we've learned the hard way. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, that was the whole experience of 15 years with two international consultants. So Richard Ellis, well, the crisis is something beyond them, right? But eventually they would have done the same thing, which they have done, right? So, but for Pushman, that really blindsided me. I didn't expect that, because 13 years together. You'd think that you'd take this a little bit further, and exactly. So it was always like they made me feel that it was going to be a long and profitable relationship until they just blindside you, and then that's it, over, bye-bye.
On hindsight, Mari, looking back at what had occurred, what would you have done differently?
What would I have done differently? You see, what blinds you is when they have these names that they throw out to you and say, these are the clients that we handle. It can be very enticing, no? But you have to think about yourself, about your practice. It's not just, you have to think about your staff, right? Learn the technology from them, but then Philippinize it. Make it your own. Because, the Americans, the Brits, they have their ways of doing their real estate, but we have ours. Which, I'll tell you one time with Richard Ellis. We had a guy who called the press one because to show all these figures. We had a research team. This guy. Every of these guys always show the numbers, and then you call the press lunchtime. You call the press call lunchtime, right? So you would think in this country, if it's lunchtime, aren't you going to serve lunch? This guy goes, you was so cocky. He said, I'm not going to serve lunch. I'm there to show them our figures. And not one of them wrote anything about us. In fact, they were so pissed off. So my dad had to pull this guy aside and said, you don't know how you're doing things here. You don't do that, you know. You have to serve lunch. It's lunchtime. This is, you know, Filipinos love to eat.
By the hour.
So it was a real mess. Investing on the hotel place, the works. Tubig lang. Stupid. You know? They think they know it all. They think they know how things are run globally. Until, you know, you have to understand in this country it's about relationships. It's about relationships. Foster those relationships, and those are the things that will take you years. You know? And David has shown it. He's got fantastic relationship with his landlords. And look where it's brought him. You know? I mean, we were together in the first Richards, you know, we were colleagues, we were both agents learning. And the guy didn't stop. I mean, he was wanting to learn. And he went through his trials the same way, in a you know, similar way. So I guess the takeaway here is, you know, if you're going to specialize in a sector maybe that those multinationals are not in. What's the point? Do you have the BPOs in your pocket? No, you don't. But if you are a landlord rep, because you have a good relationship with the developer, then so be it. That's great. You're going to deal with them. Right? Like what David has done. He's dealing with CBRE, Knight Frank, Cushman & Wakefield, because they have to. Right? So in our case, as brokers, look for these niche. You know, find a niche. It's hard to be a jack of all trades, you know. Good for you if you're good at all of it. But, you know, there's so many sectors to study and to know more about that, you know, like I said, be consultative in it. Master that facet so that when you show that to clients, they're going to be impressed. They're going to feel comfortable to deal with you because you know what you're talking about. Right? I think that's the most important. So, yes, we can. We don't have to have a foreign name attached to our label. It's just all about hard work and integrity. Because your name is all what you have. And in our case, my father always said, why is the name of our company our family name? Nakataya eh. If you make Taya your name, what are you going to do? If it's ABC Realty, then you're hiding behind ABC Realty. But if you're putting your name, Cuervo, this is my family name. Don't you think you're going to, you know, be very straight and do the right thing? And ethics is definitely, you know, something that's the most important. Yeah. So I think that's my chismes. You can ask me anything.
Okay, so any questions? Okay, that's something that you don't normally hear every day. Any questions?
You talked about plate or format that you use, that you read, part of technology. Is that something you are prepared to share?
Oh yeah. I think a lot of the slides you saw from Lee Chu is very similar. You know? When you show these things to a client, they feel very comfortable and they know what you're talking about and they know that you know what you're talking about. So it's just, you know, finding, Mark used to say, the guy at the Brit, make it look sexy. Make it look sexy. Now, this is just information, but if you make it look sexy in a slide, in a presentation, that a client can really appreciate, wow, it goes a long way. It goes a long way than having something loose leaf, you know, it doesn't look really good. But if you have something bound properly with the right fonts, it doesn't, you know, there's no 10 fonts all there, you know, you gotta, you know, make it look good. With the right data, you cannot go wrong. It's all in the presentation, I'm telling you. It's in the presentation. You've got to show the right figures, whether it's, say you're in residential. If you're selling something, back it up with data. Why would you just say, oh, okay to, mura, bilhin na, ang ganda. No, back it up with a table. Say, look, I've done the research. Here's a table of what's available in the area that you're selling. Boom. Do the deciding for them. Because these buyers, they look at things, they get nervous, right? You're trying to make them allok something. Will they trust you or not? But when you back it up with data, how can you go wrong, right? So, residential, for example, you guys know. And I think this is a great group. We were talking about this earlier, about information. Information shared, like Green Hills, Makati, just residential, for example. Wow. That could really help us all because there's no MLS system in this country. You're on your own. But I think, Robert, your initiative here can really help us. If we share data about our latest sales, the latest asking prices and all that, if we have a secure site that members of this group can have access to, why not? Hey, we're willing to share. Cuervo Appraisers is willing to share what we can. Of course, not the valuations we sell, but we can give you snapshots, for example, of where values are. So I think that's a good starting point because it just makes you a better broker, a more trusted broker. Yeah.
I heard that you probably had a sad experience with a developer some time ago. Do you have time to share it with us?
I can share that.
All right.
Some time ago, and this was with Cushman, we were accredited to sell exclusively the Nestle site. I don't know if you know the Nestle site along South Superhighway, which was whenever you drive, you had the smell of coffee before growing up. I'll never forget that. Anyway, it's the one that Ayala is developing now. Being exclusive, wow, great asset. I went to all the developers, presented it, did my whole spiel. And what happened was, at that time, there was an Ayala company called Community Innovation. So I presented to them, right? And it was a time when they were switching the brand to Aveo. Look what happened. I presented it, Aveo ended up getting it, and I didn't get a cent. You know how painful that is? I mean, it's really, really painful. After doing all the work, all the presentation, they got me on a technicality. So, I tried going back. But you see, this is where it becomes difficult, right? I want to foster the relationship with Ayala because they're also my clients in another company, Cuervo Appraisers, right? So, I'm going to sue them? I mean, it's a difficult pill to swallow. But I always tell myself, if that door shut on me, there's a bigger one that's going to come. And I just pray na lang. What are you going to do? Pray na lang. And sure enough, true story, something did come. Bigger. Which was the Keppel Shipyard in Cebu. And closed in 1 month. So, I just said, thank you God. What am I going to do, right? Because, you lose something so big, it hurts, and you can't do anything about it. And then here comes a bigger deal. So, it's happened to me so many times. I'm sure to you guys as well. So, I just let karma, or let whatever, it just comes back. It comes back. Yeah.
What do you think about websites such as Movie and all of that coming into play when it comes to sharing data about prices, places and all of that?
Well, we use that. Because in Cuervo, we have to look at all available information. And we go Google, we go to the mood, we go buy and sell every available piece of information, especially if you're doing evaluation. But let me tell you, it's very difficult. Valuation in this country is one of the hardest things to do because, as you all know, undervaluation is an SOP. So how can a valuer track actual sales when none of the brokers will tell me how much they sold? So we're always hovering between zonal and asking prices. It's in there. You know. No, we have to make valuation is a opinion. It's not an exact science. So a lot of people, a lot of big firms, they get Asian, they get Cuervo, divide by 2. Yun ang valuation. Para, di ba? Ayos na. It's hard, guys. It's hard. My brother, my father has been trying to, especially Ramon, trying to get an MLS going. Cuervo, para, this, that. Ay, nako. It's so hard to get this. We talked about this. No? How do you get an MLS going in the Philippines? How? We need that. We really need that. And brokers are never going to share and put Miktaya their name. Ito sold at sold. Diba? But I'm hoping things will change. We'll see. But yeah. So I hope they get yeah.
So that's a great lesson, I mean, I tell you. So it's how you deal with issues and how you come back from it. But really, there's always something bigger to explore.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you, Mari, for that.
Thank
All right?
you.
Really appreciate it. Okay. So next in line now, all right, we'd like to call on Raj. How do you like that talk? Huh? You don't read that business news, Manila Times, I don't know. That's straight from the gut right there. Alright? Okay, with that, I'd like to call on Ms. Toy Nan to talk about the importance of social capital in the real estate industry. You know, so, ito medyo touchy. And actually, so some of us are going to get hit, but it's educational and it will improve us. Okay, with that, Toy Nan, please. Baka ma-expose na yung kanyang transaksyon.